Welcome to Intelligent Human Leadership, leading yourself and your team. Do you ever find yourself grappling with a lack of confidence in your team? Or battling the relentless waves of concern and fear? Are the pressures to meet client expectations and the burden of missed opportunities weighing you down? On this podcast, you'll discover the strategies and insights that will reignite your team's morale and help you find the harmony and knowledge you seek to propel your business forward. Here, we explore innovative ways to reignite your creative spirit and achieve greatness, empowering you to lead with intelligence, compassion, and resilience. If you're ready to dive deep into your core of leadership challenges and be guided toward success, here's your host, founder of Steward Your Business, David Carr.
Welcome back to the Intelligent Human Leadership Podcast. I am so grateful for you guys to join me again this week. And we're going to jump into a topic that really jumped out at me this past week. I spend nearly every month going down to Dana Point as part of my personal training in Wake Up Warrior. As you guys know, I'm a certified trainer with Wake Up Warrior. And we talked about living by the Warrior's Code in the last episode. And the previous episode, we talked about stacking. Those are two very, very powerful tools in the Wake Up Warrior arsenal. And today, I'm going to pivot a little bit, but I'm going to talk about another tool or resource that I've used in Giant Worldwide, which I'm also certified in as a guide. And really, this is fundamental about knowing yourself to lead yourself. So you may have heard me talk about this in past episodes, or perhaps even listening on my other podcast, the Business Roundtable podcast, which I also invite you to follow along there. The idea is, the fundamental idea is that we all have a leadership voice. It's a combination of naturally occurring talent, abilities, things that we nurture, and actually things that we can even choose to do. Ideally, we're acting in our best role, our best fit. And we're thriving in that. But how many of you, as you're listening to me, have been put into roles or positions in which you weren't the best suited for that role? It's not because you're a bad person. It's not because you are inadequate. It just means you may not have the right tools, skills, and abilities that match up with that position and what all of that needs. This is really, really vital to, number one, you, and we always talk about this podcast, you know yourself to lead yourself, and ultimately your team and all those that you're around. Being successful in business, being successful in your relationships, making sure that your body is in a good, healthy place, right? Mentally, emotionally, we want you holistically in a strong, powerful place, clearly going in the direction that's best serving you and those are you around you. However, what I have found is there are times where we're put in situations where it's not the best fit, and what happens there? This is really important to company culture. There's a if you have never heard of this term, the Peter Principle, you can look it up. It's well documented. But one of the things is that you get promoted to your highest level of incompetence. So if you're really good, let's just say at sales, and they're like, well, you're so good at sales, why don't we promote you to being the sales manager? Well, there's a different set of skills there that are necessary for managing people, working with different stakeholders, if you will, potentially, leadership people in the team. There's just different skills there. Again, not bad or good, it's just different. You may be an amazing salesperson, managing the sales team may not be your best fit. So when I talk about the 5 Voices tool, which is free, and any of you guys that want to take that, please message me. I'm happy to share it with you. Absolutely free. You can find out what your primary voice is and walk you through that. I incorporate that not for individuals, but just teams, and how revolutionary that can be when you're all in position and going and rowing together, working together. And I'll dig a little bit more into that. But this idea of being in the right role and taking on those and living that day in and day out in your preferred behavior. We've talked about that too in Powerality. If you want to know more about that, please check out the Business Roundtable podcast. I don't do a whole roundtable with that with some other business owners on Powerality. as a tool. Power analogy meaning who you are. Think of it as a compass. Where are you on the map? Northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. Are you in the west or in the east? These are just different areas and positions that we're in. And think about that as a team, or think of that even as the human body, right? Our hands, our eyes, our feet, they all serve different purposes and roles, and you need all of them in order to be successful. This is really important when we think about that, your role in a company. What's your environment? How are you showing up? And how are you relating to those around you? How do you make decisions? How do you communicate? All of these things we look at. And what I found over the years, and what I infuse in coaching, both for the individuals and companies, is this understanding of who you are as an individual, who you are within a department, a larger group, and who is this larger organization, and what are they all about, what drives them. And once we understand more of that about each other, we can be so much more successful and impactful, and ultimately leave a much more powerful, impactful legacy. Meaning, people receive us better when we're in our best state, when we're acting in our using our best skills and abilities, and getting out of the way when we're not. I have taken on roles where, I'll give you an example of one in the industry. So in the AEC industry, architecture, engineering, consulting, construction, all of that, there are a lot of deliverables oftentimes, right? How many of you guys have to get a deliverable? It's either a proposal, a report, a technical report. There's an element there. I learned, although I can do them, and I've done many reports, and I'm good at them. I'm not bad. I've worked how to do it. I recognize there's people that are better at them on systems, processes, checking certain things, verifying fonts, verifying content is correctly identified, sources are added, all of those things. And so what I realized, and this happened in a previous company that I was working at, we had a QA/QC issue. Quality assurance was dropping, our quality control was off. And at the time, I was the department head. And so there was a miss there. There were some things that were just slipping through the cracks. Because for me, in the voice order, one of the voices is called a guardian. A guardian is just fantastic at catching details, minimizing risk. They're just very on point. And that was an area where it wasn't my strength. It's not that I couldn't do it. It just took more energy and focus for me to do that. And there was other things that I like to do where it was more naturally drawn to me, being a connector. And for those of you who are watching the video of this, which you can catch, I post this all on YouTube in addition to the audio, you can see behind me there's a connector disc showing me. That is my personal primary voice in the giant 5 voices assessment. It took me years, honestly, to continue to refine that and figure out what that meant for me. I've done Myers-Briggs, I've done DISC, done strength finders, I've done color code. I've done a lot of these things, and I infuse them, spiritual gifts, to refine and understand who I truly am. What are my special gifts? Where am I best serving on the team, so to speak? Because sometimes we look and we say, like, I want to be at the front of the classroom. I want to be on the stage. And other times people say, I want to be in the back of the room. I want to be off to the side. I want to be doing behind the scenes. Neither one is better than the other. We all need all of them. And so one thing I just want to start with you guys to think about here is the role. Number one, are you accepting and appreciating the different roles that you have in your organization, in your home life? Because if you're resenting those, you might be missing the point. Or perhaps you're hiring only for one type of role because you really like that, you relate to them, but you need these other roles, you need these other positions on the team. If you're not getting those, think of it as a puzzle. You're missing some of the puzzle pieces, and you're not going to see the complete picture without those puzzle pieces. And so we have to have the right roles, and we have to have the right responsibilities. I did actually another podcast also on the Business Roundtable where we talked about roles and responsibilities in business. So look that one up as well. But we want you succeeding and helping when you're engaged, you're living passionately, you're doing the things that you enjoy the most, you're going to be the most productive, you're going to be the most impactful, you're going to make more money, candidly. That's been my experience. bottom line, you will actually make more money, right? And you'll have people coming to you because the energy you bring, the passion you bring, it's exuding from you. Hopefully you guys are getting that from me here on the Intelligent Human Leadership Podcast. Steward your business is why I started it, to help others in this, lead themselves well and lead their teams, because ultimately I want you to win. Now, here's the thing. We will have mismatch. It's not if, we will have mismatch. So the reality is, can we get the mismatch realigned as quickly as possible? This is, I'd say, kind of somewhat of my superpower, in that I can bring teams together, I can get people in position, and we can make adjustments and move quickly. The quicker you can move on this, the better and more impactful you're going to have. You're going to see bottom line results. I'm just flat out. You will see them as you get people in the position. Think about this. If you have a team that doesn't know their role really well, they just know, like, hey, let's make a goal. And I like this picture. Let's try this picture on. If you have a group of 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, let's just say, and if you play soccer or football for anywhere else in the world, and you say, let's get the ball in the goal, what usually happens? All the kids will run to the ball. Both teams will run to the ball. They're all kind of tripping over each other. They're getting in the way. Nobody can really happen. Maybe you get somebody that moves around that you can pass the ball to a little bit, but it's really clunky. Now, as you learn your role, and this comes with maturity and understanding and communication, we talked about this a little earlier, you can then get into position, and you think about, a high school team, an Olympic team, a professional sports team in soccer. I like soccer because it's fun. I grew up playing. Could be other sports, football, baseball, any team sport. You need to know your position so that you can work together. And again, if you're the goalie, you can't be the forward. You can't be in the front. You've got to be back there paying a position. If you're a defensive person or an offensive person, it's knowing your role and playing it to the best of your ability, so that you win. And that's what we're about here, winning, getting victory in your life, in seeing the results in your business, seeing the fruit there, and let that spill over in that certainty and celebrate those wins in other aspects of your life. So as you listen here, I want you to think about this. Think about stories in your own life as to where were you mismatched potentially. And what's the power of when you are matched correctly and you're living in your true purpose, having that peace and knowing that you're doing everything that you can in your power to serve others into the best of your ability. You're going to feel better about yourself. You're going to be more energized. You're going to be more productive. You're going to be able to contribute more positively and long-lastingly to others in your life. So I'll give you an example, just as happened to me this past week, of my personal why. And if those of you have never read the book Simon Sinek, Start With Why, I recommend it. Highly influential book in my life. But when I went through that book and as I wrestled with what is my why, and I'll ask you the same question, what is your personal why? Why do you show up every day? What's driving you? My personal why, and part of the reason why I even do this podcast, is a way of bringing people together to accomplish great things. The reason I host another podcast, the Business Roundtable podcast, is because I want to have others come together, sharing insights and understanding so that together we'll go farther. I'm very passionate about that. So here's my story in the last week, where I was down in Dana Point and sitting down there for 2 days. One of the gentlemen who I've known for years actually had come out. He hasn't been out to California since 2019, and he lives on the East Coast, but he finally was able to make it out. And we were intentional about connecting ourselves, and I knew he was coming, so I'm like, okay, got to meet this guy. We have a lot of shared passions in Warrior and other things, and so we were meeting. And then I knew I was going to be. Normally I go home on Friday night and that's the end of it, but I knew he was going to be out, and there was a couple other gentlemen that I wanted to meet, other friends and colleagues on Saturday. And so here I am, trying to schedule all this out and figure out the logistics, what time, where we're going to meet. I was kind of that hub, if you will, of the wheel. And that's fine. I know that about myself. I love that. It doesn't bother me in the least. So I'm doing communication on different platforms and trying to reach people. Can you relate? There's so many of these to nowadays. And so I was energized by this, but somebody else may not be energized. But by doing all these things, here's the bottom line. What the beautiful thing that came of it, as I reflected back past week, as I'm talking to this gentleman, one of his names is Bryce, and I'm talking to Bryce, and I'm saying, hey, we're going to meet here. He's checking with me on Saturday morning. I said, hey, we're not sure exactly what time. Okay, we figured out the time, figured out the place, and I'm like, oh, by the way, there's this another gentleman who's a lawyer, and he's going to come too. And I'm describing them to each other, and as I'm describing them independently to each other, like, I think I know this guy. I might have met him before, and sure enough, we get everybody together, and these two had met each other before I ever knew either one of them in 2018. And so it was just very serendipitous, but I think, living in your role and knowing who you are inside and out, wherever the work is, that creates opportunities and excitement. These two connected after so many years, were able to share and come up with some great ideas. And it was just awesome. It was just so great to see. I was just a catalyst. I was just part of the process. They had their own conversations and connections, which was beautiful. But the reality was, I was just living in my God-given role, position, if you will, and I leaned into that. I could have said, it's not worth it, too much effort. I don't want to bother trying to get everybody together. But no, it was on my heart to put that together. So what I'm saying is, whatever it is for you, it's really important you find that, because how impactful that would be. That just those conversations that we had on Saturday, bringing them together. I mean, there's some deals that are coming out of there's just some lasting things here. So just think about that. When you're acting in your true role and purpose, you're going to be able to reap benefits far beyond what you can imagine today. And this is where I'm excited to work with clients, both individuals and companies, because I can see the synergy. And sometimes you're just one step away. How many of you guys have ever struggled with a computer not working or a part in your car not working, right? It's one part. It's just one piece. It could be a small piece, but that one piece makes all the difference to the engine turning over, to you getting from place A to B, for you completing the document, getting your computer up and running. That is part of who I am as a connector in bringing people together to accomplish great things. Some of you aren't a connector. No problem. That's fine. You have other roles. You might be a voice we have different voices in the 5 voices world. We have guardians and pioneers, and we have creatives, and we have nurturers. We need all of those. We need all those parts and places. If you're not in that way, you may see yourself struggling. Number one, just feeling good about yourself and just feeling frustrated, like, who am I? I'm not really accomplishing. I'm not really doing what I felt I really enjoy. I'm not really making the impact that I really want. And when I come home at the end of the day, I'm just really drained, and I'm not showing up for my wife. I'm not showing up for my kids. I'm just feeling out of sorts. We want to get you into a place of power, certainty, momentum, to where it cascades to not just your business, but other areas of your life. Certainly, as you're doing well in your business, it'll give you more confidence to show up in powerful ways in your marriage, in your family life, in your community. And I've grown up in the church. So oftentimes what happens in the church, and I just talked about this last night in one of our small group studies, is that the church has a bad habit of grabbing warm bodies and putting them in positions or roles that is not in alignment with their talents, their gifts, or abilities. Now, sometimes they'll do a spiritual gifts test, or sometimes they'll do some kind of assessment, but candidly, it's unfortunate that it's not done that well. Now, when I worked at a couple other companies, Margus Environmental and eCore Consulting, these companies did some investing in outside consultants and coaches, which again helped inspire me to be one myself, to develop the team to understand the dynamics there and get folks in their ideal roles, ideal positions as much as possible. There's some things that obviously are unavoidable that you're going to have to do. But once we understand that and we're in our position, in our place, for you football fans, if you're the quarterback, or if you're going for the the wide receiver, or you're getting in position, right, to execute plays, if you will. The greater the execution, the greater the profit, the greater the impact, the greater momentum, right? And that's what we want to build. That's what we want to help you build. Build this on this, navigate through this, your roles, finding where these puzzle pieces are. And oftentimes what you'll do, I do this at the end of the year, oftentimes with firms, is we are looking at positions. We're looking at the team and we're looking at an organizational chart. We're looking at specific positions or titles. And we're like, man, we don't have that one. We don't have those skills. That's not here. But that's good. At least you're understanding where are the gaps on your team. And then you can identify and bring those folks in. So then you're stronger together. You're actually building an army, if you will, or a team to go win, to go to conquer, to make a difference in the world. And when you have that amazing team, and particularly leaders and everybody knowing their place, it's not just the work, you enjoy it. It's fun. It's exciting, right? We want you to be in a place where you're getting fulfilled in all this work that you're doing, all this time you're spending. To me, to this day, I reflect back years ago on projects that I worked with in teams, and we're just celebrating. We remember, even though it was hard work, we accomplished that. We did that. We overcame those challenges. We met the mark. And you're not able to do that when you're off in your position. It'll take longer. It'll feel tougher. You won't be as motivated. And when you are not living in that purpose and not getting, you ever try to force a puzzle piece in, it kind of damages some things. Things get broken. We don't want you damaged from the inside out. We want you to radiate from the inside out, showing the energy, showing the enthusiasm that you're living your true purpose, that you're in the right role, you're taking on the right responsibilities, you know what it takes to succeed, and you're dedicated to that, and you show up every day because you love what you do. And I really want to get you a place where you love what you do. There are challenges. I mean, every day I face challenges and ups and downs, but I love the ability to come and share this podcast, come and guide individuals and teams to collaborate, work together. And I love to see that happen. And sometimes it just takes somebody like myself to come in there. And if you guys are feeling like that, maybe you're either your company or your group or even yourself, you're just like, man, I'm having trouble integrating here. I'm managing this team or leading this project or communicating with this client. That's why I'm here. I'm here to help guide you along the way and empower you in using these tools that I talk about on the podcast, from Warrior to Giant and others. I curate them for you. I pull them together. You don't have to go hunting around and hunting and pecking and where are these things or where is the resources. Let me just get them to you. Come in, have a conversation, and if it sounds like it's a good fit, we'll work. It's an invitation, not an obligation. And so I'm here as an advocate for you. I just want to encourage you. We'll talk more about some of these tools and resources as in future episodes. Again, reach out to me. I will happily send you a link to the 5 Voices assessment and see where you're at. Look at your culture. Are you guys in alignment? Are you rowing together? Or is there some places where they're off? Or it's like, yeah, we're kind of there. We're good, but it's not as great as we could be. Let's get you from good to great to amazing, to where you're just like in awe of how well you guys work as a team. And people come around you and they just comment like, I can't believe what you guys are accomplishing and how you're working together. I'm here for your highest and best good. That's my promise. That's my aim until I can't anymore. With Steward Your Business and the Steward Yourself program. I appreciate you guys listening in here. Your reviews, leave a 5-star review, go to Apple. These things help me get the message out. So please, I encourage you to review, share them as you listen and take them in and get insights, comment. And I welcome all comments. Doesn't have to be positive. I want constructive feedback because I know that helps me grow. It also knows where I'm off and where I can refine myself. Again, we want you to win. I want you to win. And here at Steward Your Business and the Intelligent Human Leadership Podcast, that's what we're committed to, episode after episode. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to come listen. We'll be back again next week. And until then, make sure you're living in your highest and best purpose, getting in your right role, and you know where to find me. In the meantime, take care. Until next time, have a good night.